Okay, good morning for those of you on Pacific. I am so excited to introduce our next guest. As you guys know, we do our CPG Unpacked series once a month, which we like to invite our friends within the CPG space that are helping remove barriers for brands to win at retail. And so we're very excited to invite Katie to our space to talk about review syndication. And I know this is a doozy of a topic. I probably get asked something along the lines of review syndication once every 48 hours. It is a hot topic. So before we start, Katie, let me introduce yourself and then we'll get rolling.
Awesome. Well, first, thank you, Ashley, so much for having me. Hi, everyone. I'm Katie McKeever. I'm Director of Product Marketing here at Yotpo. I've been with Yotpo for about 7.5 years. So I actually spent a good amount of my career actually on the customer success side. I ran our fashion vertical for a number of years, partnering with most strategic brands like Steve Madden, Patagonia, etc., on their review strategy. So excited for today's conversation.
Yeah, me too. And just for people who don't know, my name's Ashley. I'm one of the founding members of Head of Business Development here at Social Nature. I have also been with the company for 9 years. We've been around for 9 years. We're in almost our 10th year of business. And for context, so how Social Nature and Yotpo play well together, we have a partnership in place where Social Nature helps better for you CPG brands win at retail. Part of that is getting our community to try the product and leave a review. And then we partnered with Yotpo so that those reviews can be syndicated to brands' websites to help boost SEO and support an omni-channel approach, and also to key major players like Target and Walmart. So that's kind of how Social Nature works and where we intersect. But maybe, Katie, can you also just give some background as to why someone and maybe try to focus on the brand perspective, because I know most brands or most people who are here today are brands or agencies that work with brands. Why would a brand use Yotpo?
So first of all, it's important to acknowledge that, so we started originally as a review solution. So I think it goes without being said that reviews is a need to have for every single organization. It's the second most adopted platform behind email for any e-commerce business to have. As consumers, we know you need to have reviews in order for social proof. But I will also mention, of course, over the years, we've evolved as Yotpo that we don't only just offer reviews. We also offer loyalties and referral solutions. We acquired Swell a number of years ago. We acquired SMS Bump. So we now offer a whole suite of solutions, and we really are an e-commerce retention marketing solution. So we do help you from everything from conversion on site, primarily with reviews, and the amplification of that review content to all of these different networks. Of course, retail syndication being a big part of it, but we've also done some strategic partnerships in the last year with the likes of TikTok Shop, with Shopify's Shop app to ensure that review syndication is happening there as well. So a very robust offering. I know we're here to primarily talk about reviews, but I'd be remiss without also giving context to the growth of our organization. Obviously, over the last 7.5 years, I was with us when we were reviews only, but how we've grown substantially to obviously help you with your full suite of solutions.
And yeah, just for everyone who's listening, as we're chatting and there's questions that do come up for you, please pop them in the chat bar, and we will be watching that closely just to see if there's anyone who wants to hear a deeper dive on this. But yes, I mean, there's a lot of different ways this conversation could break out. And I guess one of the things that, and some of this is me from my own understanding, but also just baseline, because there's so many changes along the way. But why would you say reviews are so important? And when we add reviews to a brand's website, what are, when I say it boosts in SEO, do you have any more context around what that looks like and why a brand should care about that?
Yeah, so I think it's really interesting to think about it in the context of how e-commerce has also just evolved over the years of so again, 7.5 years ago when I started, we were in a very different world of e-commerce where all discovery really primarily did happen through Google and SEO. So it was critical that you had a reviews provider, one, that you had content that was enriching your product detail pages, that it would improve organically your SEO rankings. So that was a huge, huge thing, and continues to be, of course. I feel like it's just evolved over the years that, then became you needed to stand out in Google. Like you needed to have your product listing ads enriched with star ratings in order to have higher click-through rates. You needed to have your Google seller ratings in order to have that verification and again, increase your conversion rate dramatically. I think it's like 137% increase. Like I know we're past Black Friday, Cyber Monday, probably some people are still recovering, but that's such a critical part of like optimizing those experiences so that if people are looking for like cute bracelet or best gift, that those you're standing out in comparison to like a side by side with a competitor or a retailer like Nordstrom, that it's showcasing you have more star ratings and that you have star ratings, and it helps with click-through rates. So again, that's kind of like where like social proof really started in discovery and how you needed to enrich and improve your PDPs for social rankings. But then think about how like even it's evolved, it got to be a point where people really wanted visual content. So then people really wanted not only just, okay, yes, I need to see reviews, but I also want to see people wearing the products and I want to see the quality of things. There was the introduction even of like virtual reality of like, I want to see how this would fit in my home. So reviews has really evolved over time into user generated content of it not just being a star rating and a review that says, yes, you can trust this brand. Yes, people have bought from it. It's not going to like steal your money, where it was very different back in the day. Then it's okay, we want to have visual experiences. I want to be able to see how this would fit me or how this would fit in my home. And now it's really evolving more so into like the shopper discovery. So shopper discovery is not just on Google and it's now merchant or brands can be discovered on different social channels. I think that in the last couple of years, this is where we're really starting to see people are reinvesting, especially in retail partnerships. People are going back into the Targets and the Walmarts, and that's where brand discovery is happening again, as people go back to shopping in physical stores. So it's really important that you exist in those places for that initial brand discovery, and that then you have your D2C site, which really is enriched with, customers that are leaving the reviews that they've had great experiences. Those are the customers that probably have come back again and again, are really loyal, that are buying on your D2C site. So
Yep.
there's been this kind of long-winded, but really thinking about the evolution of how reviews have played a very critical role in kind of shaping how e-commerce has changed over time. And most recently, I am seeing this big shift in a lot of brands going back into brand discovery happening in major retailers.
Yeah, same. It's interesting. I think especially since COVID, I think just like in person is the new luxury, and like everyone just wants to like go back to a grocery store and discover products for themselves. And so I would also agree. What we have seen is this like return to in person, return to like those chores that just were like not possible 3 years ago. So it's interesting. I also the other thing that I have kind of seen a shift in is that so if the primary customer and intersection point is meeting your ideal consumer in a brick and mortar store like a Walmart and Target, that being said, not all of your customers live near Walmart and Target. So that's kind of where we've seen is that the D2C site is almost like that omni-channel approach where even if a customer would prefer to buy you in store, that discovery might start with, okay, who the heck is this brand in the first place? And having those reviews on your site adds credibility. So that I would also agree that, when brands came to me a few years ago would be like, I want to win at D2C and I don't plan on going into store. I was like, I don't know about that. It's really hard to scale. There was those unicorn brands who did it like amazingly well, but the space has gotten pretty cluttered these days. So
Now
I'm
you
with
see
you.
those D2C brands selling in the
in
likes
store.
of Sephora. I won't name some beauty brands, but you see them now doing it. That they're like, we're only going to be D2C. And now they're selling on a lot of different platforms because it is just the nature of like how consumers just have everything at their fingertips, and their discovery is not as linear as it used to be. It is very omni-channel in terms of different social platforms, different, again, like brick and mortar experiences or just retailers in general that they're trusting. And there is, of course, that like, okay, I'm going to go really investigate on the like D2C website. And that's where a lot of people do their like their research to really get in to know like what size should I purchase, et cetera, et cetera. So it's definitely
Yes.
no longer just that simple linear journey that people are kind of bopping around. And eventually, yeah, a lot of the time is of course spent on the D2C site.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing I know that we both pride ourselves, Social Nature and Yotpo, that is just authentication. And with FTC's new regulations in place on banning fake reviews, what does this mean for brands? I mean, it's hard for me to even conceive of the idea that anyone would try to manipulate a review process, but any kind of take on that, and how does Yotpo ensure that the reviews that they are syndicating are indeed like true reviews?
Mm-hmm. So there's a couple of different things with it. So one way that we are very compliant with FTC is that we are very strict on our moderation. So this is where we like every there has to be a very specific reason you're not publishing a review that like by the FTC guidelines. So you need to be authentic in publishing everything from 5 to 1-star reviews. You can't be just publishing your 5-star reviews. FTC will penalize you if you're doing that. There are ways, and of course you can reject for profanity and a couple of other things, but you need to make sure that your site is enriched with a wide spread of content. That also is truly what consumers want. There's a bunch of data that also shows that like consumers typically read the best reviews and then the worst reviews. They want to know like what's the worst thing that can go wrong. So it's great that like you should have content there. Otherwise they don't trust you. They're like, okay, there's no way there's only these 5-star reviews. So it goes in both ways. You're compliant with FTC. They want to make sure that you're authentic, that you are publishing all of your reviews. And then there's in the last like couple of years, there's this emergence of fake reviews, particularly, of course, there's like manipulation of like brands could import, and we're very strict on like trying to recognize and flag if like there's bad practices and malpractices happening. But I think AI is what is scaring people a lot too. Like, can we have ways in which like AI is just like writing a bunch of reviews? And that's something that we've been very thoughtful about as we've evolved and introduced AI into our solution. So when it comes to writing a review, we don't believe that there should be any sort of AI intervention that's like writing the content for a consumer. We give suggestions maybe about topics. We have this great tool that's called Smart Prompts that like as you write a review, it like kind of gamifies it, where it will say, hey, talk about fit. I was saying earlier, I'm pregnant, so I'm buying a bunch of baby clothes. And I saw it was like prompting me as I was writing a review to talk about like the ease of closing like a onesie, for example, 'cause it's like this magnetic company. So we like give prompts like that that are AI generated, and it's like understanding the brand, and it understands what a lot of other people talk about, and it gives suggestions, but we're never going to write the review content. Like that's where we draw the line. That's where FTC is like, you should not be having anything that is AI intervention of them fully writing the content. So that's like the two big things is make sure that one, you're publishing all the content unless there's a reason for it. Like we have a lot of great sophisticated moderation capabilities that help you create a good system for how you can flag profanity, and how you can auto publish things. So you're not having to have somebody in-house just moderating everything one by one, but that you can have tools that can help with that auto publish, and you're only having to do a fraction of it. And again, that other one is just being very careful about the use of AI, because that's where they're trying to crack down and under figuring out what types of reviews seem to be fake written by an AI solution, which we're very against.
Yeah, that's fair. And then the other thing that comes to mind as we're talking about, like say the supplement space, is there a way I mean, of course, there's additional regulations for supplements. Do you have any things in place to help, to help prevent consumers from using the words cure, or say there was a review that the brand tried to upload and there was something that was non-compliant? Is there a way that Yotpo would catch those reviews?
Yep. So that's where, again, we've had these sophisticated moderation capabilities in place where you can put in a custom profanity filter, which is really great. So you can write in that you want it to catch everything that mentions certain words like cure. I even worked with a company that for a while, they were having challenges with their shirts. They were marketed to everyone that they were wrinkle free, but people were washing them incorrectly. And so they were like reporting it's not wrinkle free and like writing a bunch of negative reviews. So what they wanted to do is like, let's put a big customer service focus on flagging everything that says the word wrinkle free. And then anytime somebody's writing a bad review about it, let's of course publish it, but let's respond and explain the way that they're caring for the product is incorrect. So, hey, it might just be how you're washing it and like sharing those links out. So there's ways that you can filter and make sure that it's caught by our filter so it's not automatically publishing, and that you can respond to it in a thoughtful manner, potentially publish it if it makes sense, or if it is a misleading one that is going to be against regulation, that you do not publish that. Again, it will be flagged by your like custom profanity filter, that it can be reviewed or rejected. We do offer human moderation services too. So this is like something where it sounds daunting what I'm describing. Not everyone has like tons of customer service agents that could crawl through all of that. We offer services that should you be even like during the holiday times that we've been offering, that you can set up like, here's what I want for my moderation, only escalate like these set of reviews to us to review. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then one of the other ways that I have brands using AI or social nature to kind of help monitor these reviews is more like, so if you have like a buyer review meet with a particular retailer and they are saying, you know, maybe just like checking some assumptions or bringing trends within the reviews to help kind of overcome some objections the retailer might have. And so that's one of the benefits that Social Nature uses AI, and just looking for those trends and surfacing. I had one brand in particular that was going from a specialty to conventional, so expanding into Target and Walmart. And they wanted to prove that their product wasn't too granola for a conventional shopper. So just looking for things like, oh, this acai really surprised me, and like I hadn't had a chance to try it before, but like it's going to be my new, you know, staple within my pantry or freezer. The idea is like creating incremental growth and using AI to like surface these trends and reviews can be really helpful in those buyer review meets. And same thing, I have brands often say, I don't know what to present in those buyer review meets. And it's like, yeah, that we do the campaign, we run the trends analysis, and then you're able to surface some of these pieces that are coming to the forefront. Can make those meetings obviously a lot juicier.
I am so happy that you mentioned this because I think that it's something that is overlooked far too often by brands, especially as like reviews has become commoditized. Like everyone knows that they need to have reviews. Cool. It's like a conversion piece on site, but they're like really underestimating the power of reviews and how much of a gold mine that content is. One, to understand things about like, what is the voice of our customer saying, but also how can we use that to inform like our merchandising? How can we use that to inform marketing? So I have tons of brands who have done, okay, I want to like find the best reviews that talk about, for example, some beauty brands have found like certain ingredients. They're like, wow, we actually didn't know that they cared so much about X, Y, or Z ingredients. They found some great reviews, started leveraging those in marketing materials, but then they also were highlighting them much more on their PDP to like call out that they had X, Y, or Z ingredients or didn't have X, Y, or Z ingredients. So it's like, it's so important to actually like leverage. And again, this is where AI has been so powerful in being able to do it at scale, because nobody can read every single review and be able to like uncover trends, but AI is really powerful in being able to like analyze holistically. Okay, what is the voice of the customer saying? What are some of these underlying trends that we can pull out? Again, some of them are for like merchandising. Oh, people hated I worked in fashion for so long, but they hated the pocket redesign that you did this season. Take that back to your merchandising team and say, hey, people didn't like X, Y, or Z about it. Let's go back to the original.
Yeah,
So
love it.
super important.
And then just kind of thinking back to like how brands can strategically use these reviews. And I think again, the theme is we know that reviews are important, but how else can they be integrated aside from like a brand's website? A couple of pieces come to mind. Like I know that through Social Nature, no doubt through Yotpo, the brands have the license to reuse the reviews in their meta ads and like having an actual testimonial. Within those ads is what really is going to elicit those clicks. Any other kind of like ways that you've seen companies strategically use those reviews?
I think we've called out like in ads, again, like email marketing campaigns in any way, shape, or form. I love when it's like, don't take our word for it, take our customer's word for it in leading any type of marketing campaign strategy. And again, I think the other popular use case outside of like using it as social proof. So there's like social proof, either it's helping with conversion on site or it's helping in your different marketing channels, making sure that people are converting in those different places. Then the other one is those like, we have a tool called Insights, but it's like, it's meant to give you insights again into like, what are your customers saying, understanding what are the best performing topics, what are the least like poor performing topics, and understanding how you need to evolve your product or improve again, like what is the PDP need to be optimized for. So I gave the example of beauty before, but another one is like fit. So I've worked with companies that they found like their dress collection in particular, the fit was like way off. They always knew this, but they wanted to take that one to their merchandising team to say, hey, we're making our dresses too small. Women are complaining about it. Look at how negative our reviews are. But also to their e-commerce team to say, we need to properly make sure that particularly on the dress collection, that we're showcasing fit scales that are accurate. So we need to make sure that we're dominantly showcasing if you typically wear X, that you're buying like a size up. Because the biggest thing is like returns and things of that nature. So like it can really have an impact on how you can decrease returns by showcasing those types of things, allowing customers to filter by skin type or their height, for example, to make like a very personalized experience with their reviews to help make the right choice and ultimately again decrease returns, not just help with conversions, but also help them make the right choice. So yeah, lots of different ways that reviews can be valuable.
What are some of, I think one of the things that's interesting is that this comes up quite a bit, is like, how can I use Social Nature to get reviews on Amazon? I was like, oh, you can't. But that aside, take it a step back. How can you encourage your shoppers to just leave more reviews in general? Do you have any like best practices with that in mind? I know like sometimes I've seen like, you know, now that you've purchased the product, will like, you know, leave us a review and we'll give you unlock an additional promo. But any other kind of like best practices with like how to get shoppers to leave a review in the first place?
So you meant like one of them is obviously incentives, and the right incentive depends on the brand, whether it's a like coupon or if you have a rewards program. There's a lot that goes into also like how that builds into your retention, that ultimately if people liked it, then they're writing a good review and that they'll use that reward or coupon on a future purchase. So incentives do go a long way, but it's also important to think about the timing of the review. I think too many people overthink the actual like email template. So they're always like, oh, I need it to look perfect. I need it to be a really customized, and they'll spend a lot of time on that element of it to make it, because a lot people are marketeers at the end of the day. They want it to be perfect. But we found actually like the more simple the request is and just like straightforward, the better collection process it is. Like, hey, leave us feedback, help other customers, and you get also like bonus X% off your next purchase or like or loyalty points. But it's like keep the process simple is one. Like don't overthink it. Make sure that it's the right timing. Do thoughtfully think about like what is your shipping time for how long. Make sure that they'll actually have time to use the product. I think oftentimes that is like where, okay, you want it like right after they delivered it. That works for beauty. Cause like if it's a lipstick, I'm gonna put it on right away. I might not try on clothes right away, or I might not like wear the shoes enough. So maybe that should be a little bit further after the actual product has been shipped to me, for example. So thoughtfully
Yeah.
thinking about the timing of it is critical, and trying again those different channels. So we have like ways that you can use a shareable review request link, for example, and like embed it in different experiences, post it on social, say, hey, write us a review, use it in your customer service channels of like, if somebody's having a great experience, hey, do you want to write us a review? So there's like, think about different ways you can engage and ask for it. And make sure the timing is right for sure.
Yeah. One of the things that we found, especially again, going back to the supplement space, because we're talking about, just a different consideration around it,
Yeah.
is we actually have about an 80% review rate, which is I'm like very impressed by. We've always been like, our community's always been like more responsive than we've ever maybe anticipated. But I would agree. It's part of that is, if it's a granola bar, you can ask same day. If it's a vitamin D supplement, even asking within 2 weeks could be very detrimental to the feedback. So it is interesting, and it is kind of like playing that, the balancing act of like, do you want them to have had a chance to actually experience the product and then collect that feedback? Because otherwise, the reviews will say, I'm not sure what to say because I haven't noticed an effect. And that would be like,
Yeah.
then you almost lose the opportunity for that collection point, because it's very unlikely they're going to leave another review.
Yeah. That's
So
like
I
the most important industry to have timing right. You're spot
Yeah.
on. Supplements, don't ask me after a month, or ask a month and then ask again in 3. Like
Yeah.
then follow up, especially if they had a bad experience. Because sometimes you also want to know early on, especially for a supplement, that like it's not like, hey, I don't know, maybe they have like I've taken supplements where it's like a foul taste maybe. And it's like you want to catch that quickly, and maybe you want to offer them, hey, another one might be better suited for you. So it's not always like you have to wait until the optimal time, but be smart about like how you're engaging them and what makes sense for your customer. Really, again, like I can't emphasize enough, everyone needs to put themselves in the shoes of the shopper and the consumer, not think about it so much from like a brand and a logistics thing. I know I said delivery, but like think about it not just, oh, it delivers here, let's then have the review request go, but like thoughtfully think about what is their experience actually going to be with the product, and then how does it make sense in that way.
Yeah, I love that. Any recommendations with kind of like metrics around reviews? So for instance, Social Nature requires a minimum of 140 count to ensure that it's, like a thoughtful response. And most times the community member has received the product for free or heavily discounted to try it. So in our minds, like, look, it's all about discovery. Asking for 140 count review is not is proportionate to what you received. But any questions around that, especially as you mentioned UGC, because asking an everyday shopper to leave UGC, any tips on like how to position that? I'm assuming we use some examples of UGC, but curious to know from your perspective.
Yeah. So I think especially when it comes to UGC, there's so many times where it's just not high quality, and it's important to balance between like, okay, you have to have some good like Instagram worthy content, but you do need like the real people. So how do you get it so it's not just like, I always joke about like Jessica's mom taking a selfie in the car and it's just like a photo of her, but it has nothing to do with product.
Yeah.
So there is like guidance, like for example, let's say you're a supplement for like hair growth, like you should write and give them prompts of like, hey, if you upload a great photo, we'd love if you could do X. Some people are getting a bit too particular. They're like, should we tell them about lighting? It's like, no, like
Yeah.
it's more just like guiding them of like what part, like what is the actual like thing that you want them to be showcasing. Maybe it's like, maybe you do want to capture some unboxing things. Like maybe that's important for you guys. Maybe it is, again, results oriented, I think is the biggest one of like, hey, we'd love if you are timing it right, that it could be helpful if you have any before or afters, or we'd love to see like a close up of X, Y, Z. So you can give like simple guidance, but don't overdo it in any way. And I think it's never a requirement. It's always like a bonus on top, especially again, if you're doing like reward points. I often see that it's like 5 or something for a basic review, and then you're like doubling it if they go as far as sharing a photo or a video alongside it.
Mhm. Yeah, it's so interesting because at Social Nature, we've really avoided the over incentivization of it and kept it more simple around positioning it like we only work in the better for you space because we're and our mission is to inspire folks to try natural, share what you love to inspire your friends to try natural as well. So like even sometimes being more aspirational, mission focused, I have found just resonates better than like a super sophisticated point system, which again can be quite cumbersome to execute and monitor. Sometimes these things that, in the spirit of gamification, sure, but sometimes it's like not worth like it is just simply creating an ask, having a specific ask, and
And
having
it is
faith in
not,
the product,
yeah, like especially if it helped someone throughout their buying process, that like they were able to see a really helpful review. Like I see that all the time pop up in reviews. I also saw from reviews that like I should have purchased X for like my like dietary issues or something like that, or I should have purchased a size up. I was so helpful that I read reviews, and just like helping people connect more on that like personal side of things. Like when I actually take the time to write a review, it's because I loved the product and I like want to give multiple details about it. It's not usually, I might have an incentive and I'm not as incentivized as like, okay, I actually really love this product, I want to help other people. So I do think that that type of language goes a long way. Like help other shoppers is the right tone to definitely have when you're asking for reviews, for sure.
Mm-hmm. So, and I think it might be helpful before we close out this conversation, because I really appreciate it and the time has gone by so quickly. And one of the things I just want to reinforce is some of the requirements for a brand to work with both Social Nature and Yotpo for the syndication piece. So just to kind of reinforce it, the reason why you would use Social Nature and Yotpo together, and this is why I'm so proud of our partnership, is that it really helps emerging brands win both at brick and mortar and then taking those reviews to syndicate to Walmart and Target. Can you tell me more about why having reviews on Walmart and Target.com is just so very important?
So it's really about, like, again, going back to the brand discovery, that like a lot of people have brand discovery in a different way, and ensuring that if that is a channel you're concentrating on, you're optimizing that channel. So, okay, we've decided we're going to be selling in Walmart and Target. You need to make sure that those are optimized for conversion. So incorporating the social proof. And what I think is so critical is oftentimes, actually, if you see reviews that are written typically like on collected by retailers and published on retailers, it's a lot about shipping experiences that aren't actually about the product. So it's like, okay, the people who are writing reviews on your D2C site are actually talking about their experience usually with the product, and those are much better reviews, and those are the reviews that you definitely want to have, making sure that they're also on Target and Walmart. That it's not just about like Target and Walmart's shipping experience you don't have control over. You want to make sure it's enriched with all those great 5-star reviews that you have about people love the product, they've seen amazing results, they love the taste of it, whatever it might be, that are actually informative and helping them make a decision to purchase. Like those are valuable reviews. I don't care so much about like one person's shipping experience, for example.
For sure. And any benchmarks that you know of from Target and Walmart's marketplace? So anecdotally, I have heard that each of your SKUs should have a couple of hundred fresh reviews. Questions around like, do you have any sense of recommendations around like what is that actual count for reviews, or how recent should they be? Any other recommendations around those kind of benchmarks? And I call them like retailer scorecards. Like, what is the retailer actually looking for from these companies?
So there are, I don't know if this is off the top of my head, but there's basically like the great like turning points in the review count is like 5 has a tip off of conversion, and then it goes to 50 and then 100. So if you have 100 reviews, like that's fantastic. If you can have just 5, that's so much better than 0. So 100 is kind of where your like conversion starts to like peak, and because nobody's going to read 100 plus reviews. It's good that you, of course, are curating over time, and that some people have hero products that have thousands of reviews. It's great that you can stand out and have that. But in terms of like where you actually see conversion peaking is like 5 is significantly better than 0. And then as you go to like 50 from there, and then 100. So goal would be, I would say, at least to have 100 per product, because that's where you're going to see the biggest lift in conversion. Recency is also critical. That's like one of the key things I mentioned earlier. Consumer behavior, oftentimes they look at the best reviews and the worst reviews. The other thing that they're looking at is the timestamp. So that's super critical. I think I just saw a statistic that was like something, it was between 70 or 80% of consumers don't trust reviews if they weren't written in the last 3 months. So as much as you can, within the last 3 months, have like fresh content that's piping in, is super important. So recency is as important, I would say, as quantity and volume of your reviews. Quality is a big part too. Like we've talked a lot about, like, it's not just, you need to have a character count. It's not great if it just says cute, loved it, smelled great.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that's not enough. That doesn't help me.
Yeah. And so if a brand wanted to work with Yotpo, I know that there are some requirements that need to be in place on our end, like the brand needs to have a D2C website. Any other requirements for brands to use Yotpo to get the reviews on Walmart and Target?
Not necessarily, it's really just about making sure that your product catalog is configured in a way that we can do the matching effectively. I think that that's where, if there ever is a challenge that comes about, it's because we're struggling to match the SKUs properly. So it's just making sure that, like, making sure you have your product catalog like in our system, and that if it requires some massaging, just to make sure that those unique identifiers, as we call them, will match so that we can share the content. But other than that, no, just having
Cool.
reviews in general.
And any other retailers that we plan on onboarding in the next near future? Anything that you're able to share with regards to trends that Yotpo might be working on
Uh,
for next year?
I wish we had a definitive one that I could share. But in general, what I'll say, just I'm very involved in our product strategy and our product roadmap. And as we evaluate, like, where are we going? What are we investing in? It is evident that, again, I feel like in the last 3 years or so, people are doing much more to invest in their retail and their wholesale partnerships. So it's a big part of our roadmap to build more of those one-to-one retailer relationships. So that's why we've strategically partnered with Walmart and most recently Target. We're trying to build more, and it all is about, like, those are the biggest ones. So if you think about, like, we do our analysis based on, we're not just choosing like at random. It's really, we look at our customer base. What is the largest amount, like what is the biggest retailer that we know can fulfill the needs of our customer base? So if you can
Yeah, no,
deduce
I'm
from there, it's not going to be a small one.
yeah, fair enough. I'm
It would be
excited.
another big one, similar in that capacity.
Amazing. Okay, well, thanks so much for your time today. Everyone will be receiving a recording if they weren't able to join today. And I suspect that we will receive some pings from people who want to talk to both of us. So I'll be sure to pass that along. But for anyone who's interested in learning more about Yotpo and or social nature, just let us know. And thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Katie. Take care.